Good morning. Oh, just checking, this is on. Hello, everybody. My name is John Sproule, and my pronouns are he and him, and I am your service leader today. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Edmonton, or the UCE. We're actually one of two Unitarian congregations in Edmonton. There's also the Westwood congregation, which is on the south side. Thank you for everyone in the sanctuary who's braved the cold to come here, and welcome to all those who weren't brave enough and sitting warmly at your homes inside. The Unitarian Universalist faith is a creedless community dedicated to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace a pluralist philosophy, opening our hearts and minds to diverse ideas, feelings, expressions, and stories of our world community. Whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here today. We respectfully acknowledge that we're located on Treaty 6 territory, which is a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwa, Saulteaux, Anishinaabe, Inuit, and many other whose histories, languages, stories, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. And we might ask if you take a moment now to ensure that your cell phones and noise-emitting devices are silenced. And given that it's, while you do that, it's storytelling time. I do have a phone particular story. I've worked as an actor, and there was an on-stage story at the Fringe once where someone had their cell phone on, and of course it was on, and I was performing on stage at the Fringe, and it rang, and they didn't quickly silence it. They answered it, and we on stage could hear them, and the guy went, "Oh yeah, I'm at the Chinook Theater, yeah, I'm watching a play. Okay, meet you later at the tents." "No, it's not very good." "See ya." So we are glad to have you here this morning. We hope you find something in the service today that nourishes your spirit and helps you find and keep your balance. And now, before we begin, settle back, relax, and we now have a wonderful Prelude, which is a wonderful story, actually, Days of Wine and Roses. So thank you. Thank you, Gordon. And as is our tradition, I'd like to ask Jan McMillan to light our chalice as I say these words. A Shared Story by Reverend Sandra Fees. For the stories that long to be told and retold, for the stories that long to be imagined and reimagined, for the stories that long to be envisioned and celebrate, we kindle this chalice. May its flame bring the light of different truths, different paths, and different voices, all needed to cultivate a transformative story of justice, love, and beauty. Thanks, Jan. And I said you had to silence your phones, but not silence yourselves. So if you could all stand willing and able to join us in our first hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Oh. Well, that was pretty great improvisation there that occurred. Our community is entirely self-governing and self-supporting. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. In addition to supporting this church community, we also make a monthly contribution and commitment beyond our walls, and half of the identified cash that is received today is given to an outside organization. Some are local, some national, some international. For the month of January, we are sharing our abundance with Change for Children. For over 45 years, Change for Children has promoted health and human rights by championing creative solutions to poverty through sustainable development. This has been and continues to be the Change for Children way, to build civil society capacity in the global South and Canada, to promote health, human rights, and create solutions to poverty through sustainable development. And you can see, I think, yes, the Change for Children website is on the screen and on the slides for those who are online. So please go check out the organization. It's very worthy, and give where you can. Thanks very much. If everyone could join in singing From You I Receive. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and by this we live. Yes. And now we have a children's story.
It's not just a children's story, it's a story for all ages, and it's a story about a story. It's a story about the three little pigs and the big bad wolf, but we've turned it around, and it's called The Three Little Wolves and the Big Bad Pig, and I'll get out of the way. Can you see the screen? right? I follow orders well. Once upon a time, there were 3 cuddly little wolves with soft fur and fluffy tails who lived with their mama. The first was black, the second was gray, and the third was white. One day, the mother called the 3 little wolves around her and said, "My children, it's time for you to go out into the world. Go and build a house for yourselves, but beware of the big bad pig." "Don't worry, Mother, we will watch out for him," said the 3 little wolves, and off they went. Soon they met a kangaroo who was pushing a wheelbarrow full of red and yellow bricks. "Please, will you give us some of your bricks?" asked the 3 little wolves. "Certainly," said the kangaroo, and she gave them lots of red and yellow bricks. So the 3 little wolves built themselves a house of bricks. The very next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of bricks that the little wolves had built. The 3 little wolves were playing croquet in the garden. Then, when they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside the house and locked the door. The pig knocked on the door and grunted, little wolves, let me come in." "No," said the 3 little wolves. "By the hair of our chins, we will not let you in. Not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, but the house didn't fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his sledgehammer and he knocked the house down. The 3 little wolves only managed to escape before the bricks crumbled, and they were frightened indeed. Can you see the screen, Gordon? Okay, well, that's good. I was worried. Okay. "We shall have to build a stronger house," they said. Just then, they saw a beaver who was mixing concrete in a concrete mixer. "Please, will you give us some of your concrete?" asked the 3 little wolves. "Certainly," said the beaver, and he gave them buckets and buckets full of messy, slurry concrete. So the 3 little wolves built themselves a house of concrete. No sooner had they finished when the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of concrete that the little wolves had built. They were playing battledore and shuttlecock in the garden. And when they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside and shut the door. The pig rang the bell and said, "Little frightened wolves, let me come in." No, said the 3 little wolves. "By the hair on our chins, we will not let you in, not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. So he huffed and he puffed and he puffed and he huffed, and the house didn't fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He went and fetched his mnemonic drill and smashed the house down. The 3 little wolves managed to escape, but their chins were trembling and trembling and trembling. They built an even stronger house. "We shall build an even stronger house," they said, because they were very determined. Just then they saw a truck coming along the road carrying barbed wire, iron bars, armor plates, and heavy metal padlocks. "Please, will you give us some of your barbed wire, a few iron bars and armor plates, and some heavy metal padlocks?" they said to the rhinoceros who was driving the truck. "Sure," said the rhinoceros, and he gave them plenty of those things: barbed wire, iron bars, armor plates, and heavy metal padlocks. He also gave them some plexiglass and some reinforced steel chains, because he was a generous and kind-hearted rhinoceros. So the 3 little wolves built themselves an extremely strong house. It was the strongest, securest house anyone could possibly imagine. They felt absolutely safe. The next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road as usual. The 3 little wolves were playing hopscotch in the garden. When they saw the big bad pig coming, they ran inside their house, bolted the door, and locked all the 37 padlocks. The pig dialed the video entrance phone and said, "Little frightened wolves with the trembling chins, let me come in." "No, no, no," said the little wolves. "By the hair on our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in. Not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. You know what happens. He huffed and he puffed, and he puffed and he huffed, but the house didn't fall down. But the pig wasn't called big and bad for nothing. He brought some dynamite, laid it against the house, lit the fuse, and the house blew up. The three little wolves just managed to escape with their fluffy tails scorched. "Something must be wrong with our building materials," they said. "We'll have to try something different, but what?" At that moment, they saw a flamingo coming down pushing a wheelbarrow full of flowers. "Please, will you give us some flowers?" asked the little wolves. "With pleasure," said the flamingo. And he gave them lots of flowers, so the three little wolves built themselves a house of flowers. One wall was of marigold, one of daffodils, one of pink roses, and one of cherry blossoms. The ceiling was made of sunflowers, and the floor was a carpet of daisies. They had water lilies in the bathtub and buttercups in their refrigerator. It was a rather fragile house, and it swayed in the wind, but it was rather very beautiful. Next day, the big bad pig came prowling down the road and saw the house of flowers that the three little wolves had built. He rang the blue bell at the door and said, "Little frightened wolves with the trembling chins and the scorched tails, please let me come in." "No, no, no," said the three little wolves. "By the hair in our chinny chin chins, we will not let you in. Not for all the tea leaves in our china teapot." "Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down," said the pig. But as he took a deep breath, ready to huff and puff, he smelled the soft scent of the flowers. It was fantastic. And because the scent was so lovely, the pig took another deep breath and then another. Instead of huffing and puffing, he began to sniff. He sniffed deeper and deeper until he was quite filled with the fragrant scent. His heart grew tender, and he realized how horrible he had been. Right then, he decided to become a big, good pig. He started to sing and dance the tarantella. I don't know what a tarantella is, but I think I'd like it. At first, the three little wolves were a bit worried. It might be a trick, but soon they realized that the pig had truly changed, and so they came running out of the house. They started playing games with him. First, they played pig pog, and then piggy in the middle. And when they were all tired, they invited him into the house. They offered him tea and strawberries and wolfberries and asked him to stay with them as long as he wanted. The pig accepted, and they all lived happily together ever after. The end.
Ooh, there we go. And thanks very much, and thanks for the opportunity to provide some thoughts around stories. And I've had the opportunity to be connected with stories in my life, and I was thinking about it, but two major areas that I'm involved in. One is health systems and healthcare, and the other is in theater, both kind of linked to stories. But my first thought was something struck me when I was younger in university, and about the unique nature of storytelling as a fundamentally human activity. Humans are creatures that have this capacity, and an early book I read in university had a rather pretentious title, "The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind." And it was about the evolution of the human mind. And one reflection was the unique way that humans can create metaphor and symbols. Animals can communicate and talk to one another. They can remember. Trees can remember. But only humans tell stories. And that's the key root of that is metaphor. And it's the root of art, and it's the root of language. This is like that. A hand to the head means I think or I know, and hand to the heart means I care, I feel, I love. Gestures and images became simplified hieroglyphics that became letters, and it became language. Fiery chariot driven by Apollo explained the daily passage of the sun across the sky. And so we developed a oral history of hunts and exploits and battles, and we created parables for shared learning, which then got translated into more permanent paintings and poems and writing and stories. And many stories are shared across religions. Certainly the Unitarian Church would know there's a lot of common flood myths across different religions. There's a lot of resurrection myths in terms of the spring coming up again after the winter, and they're reflected everywhere. In terms of the health field that I've been involved in, I have seen increased activity in studying the importance of stories. This is important in, say, dealing with patients with medical conditions in context rather than thinking there's an appendix in room 4. It's Sam or Sally in room 4 with a whole story behind them of where they are and where they will go and where they would leave to. Maybe living alone with a strong supportive family, in a home with wealth, or in a cardboard box in an alley. So as you kind of plan for the journeys of people, context matters. And there's actually a whole area of study called narrative medicine that started in the 1990s, and it was an interdisciplinary approach to engage patient stories or narratives as a conduit for healing and how you take care of them. And it's interesting, later this week, actually, I'm participating in a health policy event of a group of learning thing for the College of Health Leaders, and it's called the Human Library, and I get to be one of the books in the library, and we're all at tables. And with younger health leaders, mostly, who get to come and rotate and say, what's your story, to people who've been around for millenniums like me. And we had to give a title to our book, and I chose mine, which was, and it was a bit of a policy thing, kind of thing, Changing the Health System Landscape, We Need Gardeners, Not Florists. And it outlines a lot of my philosophy of I've been involved in a lot of political things where people go, oh, we'll take this, and they'll hack it off and stick it in a flower vase over here and hack this part over here, and you kind of go, that'll look nice for a while, but then they'll wilt and die. You actually have to be a gardener, transplant, prepare the soil, develop those things going forward, because you need connections and certain things to grow. It's a living organism. And you can use that metaphor for a lot of things, I found, actually. I also had the privilege of working in theater and being a part of presenting stories. And just a couple of quick observations from that is two key things that I always found that I focused on important in theater were character and plot. And playing smaller character parts. You need to infuse your short time on stage with as much information as you can about yourself in a concentrated way, and how you directly relate to servicing the story. Sometimes you need to be funny. Sometimes you need to bring in important plot information. I was once in a play and I forgot this key thing of plot information, and then we had to figure out how we would insert it through someone else's voice to the play, because it was essential as we move forward, because I forgot it. If you're playing a lead role, it's very interesting. You need to leak information more slowly because you've got lots of time. And I remember early parts that I played, I kind of delivered all the information emotionally about my particular thing in the first scene, and then all of a sudden there was just nothing more to kind of give going forward. And so a lot of it is a key factor in good storytelling is leaking information, withholding information, what you don't say, and that creates suspense and carries the person forward. So creating suspense is an important thing. Mysteries are not about telling all, but just enough to get the reader to turn the page. They're engaged either in an argument or in an emotional connection. I felt that, and so I can live vicariously by bringing my own life and experience to color that. And it's good to think about potential titles for your own story, or good first lines, actually. And so I was thinking, going through quickly, some good first lines of stories. One was, she was 10 years old, but knew enough to wipe clean the handle of the bloody kitchen knife. And that was from a book called The Bitter Taste. It was a pleasure to burn. And that's from Fahrenheit 451, if people know that particular story. Another famous short first line is, call me Ishmael. Another one, actually, that refers to another book. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born, what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me, and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into that if you want to know the truth. And that was the first line of Catcher in the Rye. One was from a great book, actually. This is the first line. I was born twice. First as a baby girl on a remarkably smogless Detroit day in the January of 1960, and then again as a teenage boy in an emergency room near Petoskey, Michigan, in August of 1974. And that's actually from the book Middle Sex. Another one book that people might read, a favorite of mine when I was younger. The story so far, in the beginning, the universe was created. This made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. And that, of course, is from Douglas Adams in The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. A very famous line, a first line of a book. It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. And that's from George Orwell's 1984. And you don't have to have a lot of words to make an impact. Works do not have to be sweeping and long. Here is what is attributed as the world's shortest novel. It is 6 words, and it is by Ernest Hemingway. Think of what personal reflections you bring to it and what suspense it creates to know more. This is the novel in its completion. For sale, baby shoes, never worn. I am with an ending from an important book to me in my childhood. Most, I think, will recognize the source. This is the last line of a book that I read when I was younger. But wherever they go and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on the top of the forest, a little boy and his bear will always be playing.
I'm muted. Nope, I'm on. The next way we're going to experience, thank you, John. That was awesome. The next way we're going to experience story this morning is a young man by Merrick Hanna. He is a dancer. And here's how I found him. I Googled best story in dance, and up he came. And it's an America's Got Talent video audition, and he is going to tell you what he's going to do. I hope you enjoy it, and there might be clapping and America's Got Talent stuff at the beginning, but just wait. Gone on to have quite the career, gone through puberty, and has like millions of followers, and has he's done very well. He's got a very interesting style of dance. The next story, we're going to sing together This Little Light of Mine, hymn number 118 in the gray charcoal hymn book. What I want to say about this is that we all have stories to tell, and we all have so many gifts to give. And Merrick Hanna is such an example of letting our light shine, and I think that's the message of this song. Let's make sure we let our lights shine and share our gifts to the world. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are willing and able. On the screen behind me is going to appear some words. And this is a storytelling activity that I would like to offer to you by invitation to engage with your neighbor and to think about a story that you could tell. Just a brief story, maybe a few words longer than Ernest Hemingway's shortest story, but not much longer. So was there something that happened maybe this morning or yesterday that could be a short, little sweet story or not so sweet story that you could tell to your neighbor? The invitation is to turn to your neighbor and tell them that story. So it's your opportunity to tell a story. And those of you online, I've asked Mike to, we're going to use the word try to put you in breakout rooms of 2. Sometimes this works well and sometimes it doesn't. And if it doesn't, I invite you to just maybe have a conversation or put your story into the chat if you can. So the invitation, by invitation always, never by demand, is to turn to your neighbor in either groups of 2 or 3 and tell each other a story of something that happened either this morning or yesterday. And was there a lesson in this story? You each have about 2 minutes. Ready, go. Could you put 2 minutes on your timer for me, please? Oh, okay. Or just show me the, what time? 11 So, about 11:08 or so. I'll get, in like a minute, about 90 seconds, I'll get them to switch.
Oh, who else is here? Oh, there we go. Hi, Graham. Hi, Lynn. I didn't see everybody. It was just Gloria's face when I first popped in.
You should stop the recording, Lynn, or it's going to record your breakout room.
Haven't already? Probably need a light on me. For the folks at home, thanks. To plant your feet on the ground, to take a couple of deep breaths, maybe roll your shoulders back, and do some squiggling in your chair to feel comfortable. Wiggle out the wiggles out. A few more deep, long breaths, following your breath. Maybe working through your body to relax, thinking about the story that you may have told or may have just heard. Taking it in, thinking about your own story, perhaps. Going to enter into a time of silence, after which Gordon is going to bring us out, and we will sing together twice, Spirit of Life, hymn 123, in the charcoal hymn book. I invite you into silence. Please remain seated. And as Gordon plays that through one more time, I will invite you to think about this time together as we light candles of joy and or concern, that we build community in this way. And today, I'm inviting people, if they wish to speak to their candle. So on this side, if you wish to just light a candle and not speak to it, you could go to this line. But if you wish to say something about your candle, I invite you to go over to that side and then come to the microphone and say your name and your pronouns, and then speak your candle. Please make them brief and personal. And if I could get someone to light a candle for me at this moment, I have a candle that I would like to speak to. I imagine some of you already know about this, but I would like to let, they're up at the other end. I would like to let everyone know that one of our dear ones has recently and unexpectedly passed away. So Beth Jenkins passed away this past week, and we will grieve her. And I know that some of you will be wondering about a service. I have yet to connect with family. I have reached out or attempted to, and so I will inform everyone. We will inform everyone from the office if and when there will be a service for Beth. But we will certainly we certainly will hold Beth and her family in our hearts at this time. And certainly we will miss her. I know I will. So, and with that, a candle of deep sorrow, I invite you to the table to light candles of joy or concern or sorrow or celebration. The tables are open. You are welcome.
He had issues, but my granddaughter, grandniece, I guess I should say, and his wife also called also to remember my great-grandson, Kason, who died 2 years ago, and also the people that we have in our hearts, Rosemary and I and the pastoral team. Corinne Jackson is now home, and I think she may be going to the Glenrose. Her stroke was minor. There's nothing wrong with her thinking, and she has a use of her hand. So there are things happening there that are good for her. Bev Romanishin and Vic also are going through a very, very big challenge in their lives, and are not accessible for us right now pastorally, and we're going to be working on that with their doctors, and see what's happening there. The joy of the thing is that my 7th great-great-granddaughter had her 2nd birthday 2 weeks ago, and there were so many people there, we had no place to sit. And so there was joy, and there are things to think about. Thank you.
Give him that. Give him. Don't put. Yeah. Thanks, John.
No.
Today I returned to the bookshelf, a hymnal that I borrowed a few months ago. Back in the 90s, we bought a lot of hymnals and could have messages inscribed in them. At that time, I inscribed a message about a friend of mine who had disappeared in 1973. Last year came the news that a Quebec coroner had identified his body after 49 years. This man was a close friend of mine at the military college. He was the best man at my wedding. I never really believed he'd committed suicide, but he had. And I had some fanciful explanations of how he was faking a disappearance, but not so. So that's something. A few years ago, I did a tabulation, and I have had. Connor became I think the 9th person I had personally known who committed suicide. And one of them, of course, was from this church, Gilbert. One of the tunes I hate for the name is from MASH, Suicide is Painless. It is not.
Unspoken. John has lit a candle for all of those unspoken, unresolved, perhaps uncompleted thoughts and feelings that we have in our bodies. Let us take a breath together and acknowledge all that we have heard and all that we have felt, knowing we are held in love. One of my favorite artists is Carrie Newcomer, and she wrote a song about writing a better story and writing a better ending with a better storyline. And this is what's going to happen next, I'm sure. Thank you. I wasn't looking so good there. I couldn't see my page. That was a joke. When I was a child, I was a voracious reader, and I guess I still am. I love to read, and I especially love to read a good story. Perhaps unusual for a child, I also and mostly love to read biographies and especially autobiographies, and I still love that. Right now I'm reading a memoir by the author Anahid Dashgard called Breaking the Ocean. It's a heartbreaking story about a young woman who was born and raised in Iran during the era of the Shah, and when the Ayatollah took over, her family had to flee. And she ended up, in all places, in Alberta, in Sherwood Park. Her sequel, Bones of Belonging, is being read. I'm reading it at the same time, but on audiobook. I listen to that when I drive. She relays the cruelty of racism that is so prevalent and mostly invisible in our midst. It's just the way it is for so many people. That conversation, though, will have to wait for another time and place. I think that one's a whole service or maybe a season. The song by Carrie Newcomer that we just experienced has these lines: I'm writing a new ending with a better storyline. Turn the page and leave the blanks with a plot that's less defined. And though I won't get back a day of stolen time, I could go to bed at night with a better storyline. The concept that we can decide today, every day, how we wish to live out our stories. Our timeline is, we could live out our timeline, our stories, and this idea is very exhilarating to me. Even if things seem to be going in the wrong direction, even if the story doesn't seem like it's going to have a successful or a happy ending, we get to decide each day what course correction we are going to make. I love the idea of the course correction. If a pilot is flying a big plane and they put it on autopilot, they can't just leave it. They have to be constantly doing little course corrections, otherwise the autopilot will not take them to the right place. They have to be constantly checking and doing a small course correction. So even if we are on autopilot and we know where we're going, we probably need to do some course correction. So we could say this for anyone or any institution like ours. We can decide what and how we are at UCE, how we want to be, and begin writing a storyline that will get us what we want. Even though that might sound kind of pie in the sky or even perhaps trite, you, the members of UCE and friends, have the power to determine your future. You can be anything you wish to be. Carrie Newcomer would say you would write the ending of your story, how you want to end up, and then begin working toward that. Work is probably the most important word in that sentence. The work could be as simple as goal setting and then coming up with strategy to meet those goals. The story could be about ourselves. The end of all of our stories are, of course, the same, but we get to decide how we want to be along the way. Perhaps your new story could be to have more fun or friends in your life. Write a new ending with the storyline having you look into and attend meetup groups, recreation centers, classes, dances, or bowling alleys. The point that Carrie is making that I want to emphasize is that you are in control, for the most part, how your story ends. You collectively also are in control of the story of UCE, this congregation. You can say that the trend of liberal religious institutions is not hopeful, so therefore we shouldn't be too hopeful. Or you could say that there is much hope, and the end of the story for UCE is vibrancy and relevance. Therefore, we need to write a storyline that reflects that. The choice is yours. The decisions are yours. The work is yours. It's up to you how this goes. May the dreams you dream, may the visions you see, may the work you do bring about the ending of the story that you wish to have. The UCE of your imagination is in your grasp. You only have to decide it and then write the storyline. So may it be. Amen. Let us conclude with everyone's favorite song. It's a story too. Blue Boat Home. Please rise in body or in spirit as you are able.
Thanks very much. Now is the end of this brief story that we've had here together. And it's time to extinguish the flame. And I've asked Jan if you could extinguish the flame as I say these words, naming the largest truths by Reverend Vanessa Southern. May the stories we tell name the largest truths of what was, of what is, and pull us forward to what should be, as stories were always meant to.
Does anybody remember what I said? I'm gonna start again. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry, Andrea. But I'm going to start in a different way. I'm going to thank everyone that is here, that braved the almost minus 30-degree weather to come today, and to thank everyone online that is also here. I hope that you enjoyed experiencing story in a myriad of ways and telling one another stories. It's one of the things that I loved putting this service together and finding all different ways that we could experience story. So I want to thank everyone that is here and also that contributed to this service. There was a lot of work put into it, and I put a lot of pressure on the tech team. And there's going to be one more video that you might want to watch, a Billy Joel song that is a story of, I think it's an extraordinary story. So that will come on after Carry the Flame. And now, do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. Things can break, and things can be mended, but not with time, as they say, with intention. So go and love intentionally. And go and love extravagantly. That's my favorite one. Extravagantly. And love unconditionally, for the broken world waits in darkness, for the love and light that is within all of you, and I can see it. Go in peace and stay warm, gentle people. Amen. And let us now sing our linking song. The words will come up behind me. Carry the Flame. And I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Reverend Rosemary.